In the village of Ilujoba, where the red earth held the memory of ancestors and the wind whispered secrets through the olope palms, there was a night no one dared to forget. It began with a sound, not the cry of a child, not the howl of a beast, but something older, something that seemed to rise from the belly of the land itself. The elders would later say it was the night the forest chose to speak. And at the center of it all were three figures: a proud, lion-hearted ruler, a jewel whose beauty could command storms, and a stranger who believed knowledge could tame tradition. Some stories are told to entertain. This one was told to warn. Ilujoba was not just a village, it was a living archive. Nestled deep within what is now southwestern Nigeria, it bore striking resemblance to the setting of The Lion and the Jewel by Wole Soyinka, though the elders insisted their story came long before any book was written. In Ilujoba, every tree had a name, every rock had witnessed history, and every child grew up knowing that the boundary between the visible and invisible worlds was dangerously thin. The village thrived under the rule of Chief Adebamiji, known among his people as the Lion of Ilujoba. He was not called a lion merely for strength, but for his cunning, patience, and the quiet authority that followed him like a shadow. Then there was Aduni, the jewel. Her beauty was the kind that unsettled even the spirits, skin like polished bronze, eyes that held both laughter and prophecy, and a presence that made even the oldest men forget their age. And finally, there was Kunle, the outsider. Educated in Lagos, dressed in pressed trousers and armed with books and modern ideas, he returned to Ilujoba, convinced he could reshape it. He believed tradition was a cage he did not yet understand. It was also a shield. Beyond the village lay the Igbo Ayanmo, the forest of fate. No one entered it after sunset, not because of wild animals, but because of what watched from within. The grove was said to be the dwelling place of ancient spirits, older than kings, older than memory itself. It was where the first ancestors made their pact with the unseen. And that pact had one rule: take nothing, disturb nothing, forget nothing. But Kunle laughed when he heard this. Stories, he said, tools used by the old to control the young. Aduni warned him. The forest does not need you to believe in it, she said quietly. It only needs you to enter. He smiled, and that was his first mistake. The lion's silence. Chief Adebamiji watched Kunle with careful eyes. He had seen men like him before, men who mistook knowledge for wisdom. But the chief said nothing, because he knew something Kunle did not. The forest had been restless. The birds no longer sang near its edges. Hunters returned empty-handed, and twice in 1 week the sacred drums sounded without human touch. The elders whispered, "The balance is shifting." Still, the chief waited, because in Ilujoba some lessons were not taught, they were survived. It was during the festival of New Yam that everything unraveled. The village danced, drums thundered, flames painted the night sky, and Kunle, fueled by pride and palm wine, made a declaration. "I will enter the forest tonight," he said, "and return with proof that your fears are empty." Gasps spread like wildfire. Even the drummers stopped. Aduni stepped forward, her voice trembling with something deeper than fear. "Do not go." But Kunle only saw challenge. Not warning, Chief Adebamiji finally spoke. "If you enter," he said, "you do so not as a son of Ilujoba, but as a stranger to its protection." Kunle bowed mockingly and walked into the forest. At first, the forest was silent, too silent, no insects, no wind, no movement. Then came the sound, a low hum, like a song remembered by the earth itself. Kunle pressed on, clutching his lantern. He saw shadows move where there were no bodies, trees that seemed to breathe, paths that shifted behind him. And then he found it, a shrine, ancient, covered in markings older than language. At its center lay a carved object, a small figure shaped like a lion. Without hesitation, Kunle picked it up. That was his second mistake. Back in the village, the wind changed. Fires flickered wildly. Children began to cry without reason, and Adunni collapsed. Her body trembled as if something unseen had entered her. "The forest," she whispered. "It is not angry." Her eyes snapped open. "It is awake." Kunle ran. The forest was no longer silent. It screamed. Branches reached for him. The ground seemed to pulse beneath his feet. And behind him, something followed. Not seen, but felt. A presence so vast it made his thoughts scatter. He burst out of the forest at dawn, clutching the carved lion, but he was no longer the same man. His eyes were not entirely his own. Adunni began to change. She spoke in voices that were not hers. She knew things she had never learned. "The balance has been broken," she said. "The lion has taken what was not his. Now the forest will take what it is owed." The elders gathered. The chief listened. And for the first time in years, the lion of Ilujoba looked afraid. Kunle fell ill, not with fever, but with memory. He began to see things, visions of the forest, of ancient rituals, of a time before Ilujoba existed. He understood now. The shrine was not decoration, it was a seal, and he had broken it. There was only one way to restore balance: return the lion, but not alone. "The forest will not accept him," Adunni said. "He has already taken." She stepped forward. "I will go." The chief protested, but the elders agreed. "The jewel must walk with the lion," they said. "Only then will the forest listen." They entered at dusk. Kunle, weak but determined. Adunni, calm, almost otherworldly. And Chief Adebamiji, the lion, walking not as ruler but as guardian. The forest welcomed them, not with hostility, but with judgment. They reached the shrine. Kunle fell to his knees, placing the carved lion back where it belonged. "I did not understand," he whispered. The ground trembled, and the presence returned. Adunni stepped forward. "You have taken," the voice echoed, not heard, but felt. "What will you give?" Silence. Then the chief spoke. "Take from me," he said. The forest paused, then rejected the offer. The lion protects, the jewel binds, the stranger learns. All eyes turned to Kunle, and he understood. Some debts could not be shared. Kunle did not die. That would have been mercy. Instead, he changed. His body remained, but his spirit stayed. Bound to the forest, not as prisoner, but as keeper, a reminder, a warning. Only two emerged from the forest, Adunni and the chief. The village asked no questions they already knew. Years passed. Ilujoba endured. Adunni became a legend, the jewel who spoke with spirits. Chief Adebamiji ruled until his final breath, his strength tempered by humility. And the forest? It returned to silence, but not the same silence, a listening silence, waiting. Because sometimes the greatest danger is not ignorance, it is the belief that nothing lies beyond what we can see. And so, the elders still tell the story of the lion, the jewel, and the night the forest spoke, not to frighten, but to remind. Some traditions are not chains, they are survival.